55, Jacksonville. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Monday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. We are certainly glad you are with us. Got some thunder and lightning here on the south side part of town. Be careful if you're out there. Some lightning actually really close to the radio station a couple of moments ago. Denmark, is this as emotional for you as it is for me after 12 long days, man? We are reunited here on Hacker After Dark.
Nah, it's back to normal.
I figure it probably wasn't very emotional for you. It was almost emotional last night, which we'll get to. I know the track and field guy that you are. We almost had a lot of fun with two teenage guys here in Jacksonville, one in St. Johns County, one in Duval County, that almost made the Olympics in the 100 meters, and we'll get to that in just a moment. It's a big night in the world of sports, I'll tell you that. We got a deciding Game 3 in Omaha, Tennessee and Texas A&M. The winner will win their first College World Series title ever for their respective school. We'll certainly keep you updated on that. The Southeastern Conference will get a title tonight. Right now, 1-1, top of the third between the Aggies and the Volunteers. And we have Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Finals to the south of us down in Sunrise, Florida. The Edmonton Oilers are looking to do a couple of things that have not been done in a long, long time. Number one, it's a Canadian Stanley Cup champion, which has not happened since Montreal back in 1993. So you're talking 31 years since Canada won a Stanley Cup. And number two, no team has come back from 0-3 down in the Stanley Cup Finals in like decades. Only 3 teams have ever done it in the NHL, but it hasn't been done in the Cup Finals, I believe, since the mid-1940s. And Edmonton trying to do that tonight. Florida was up 3-0. The series was over. And then Edmonton rattles off wins in Game 4, Game 5, and Game 6. And now here we are. A winner-take-all, Game 7. Someone will be skating with the Stanley Cup tonight down in Sunrise, Florida, and they're going to drop the puck in about 10 minutes' time. So we're absolutely loaded. We will keep you updated on all that. Guest lineup tonight looks like this. Former Jaguar defensive lineman, Lige Douzable. You see him now, CBS Sports HQ. You see him during the college football season on ESPN. You can also hear him on Sirius XM NFL Radio. Lige's made a nice little career for himself in broadcasting, played 10 years in the National Football League, including a couple of years right here in Jacksonville. So we'll talk about the Trevor Lawrence contract. We'll talk Jags. We'll talk AFC South with former Jaguar defensive lineman Lige Douzable. That comes up in about 15 minutes or so. At the top of the 9 o'clock hour, Max Chadwick of Pro Football Focus. The caveat there, Max is, for lack of better terminology, the college football guy for Pro Football Focus. So we'll talk a little Trevor Lawrence, but mainly it'll be Florida, Florida State, Georgia, and Miami talk as we are 2 months away. 2 months from today, as a matter of fact, until the college football season kicks off on Saturday, August the 24th. So a lot of Jaguars and a lot of college football in hour number 1, and we will keep you updated on the events going on in Omaha between Tennessee and A&M, and we will keep you updated on Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
All right, so the big deal of the night is I got to thinking earlier today. And the reason I got to thinking earlier today was there are a lot of rankings that are coming out, position rankings from Pro Football Focus, Pro Football Talk. You know, I saw one on PFF that had the Jaguar wide receivers as the 25th best unit in the NFL. 25 out of 32. Now, I think that's very low, but I kind of understand it. I mean, Christian Kirk is the only guy left in that receiving room. Gabe Davis is new. Brian Thomas is new. Devin Duvernay is new. So I guess I can see where they're coming from a little bit, but I still think that's pretty low, having the Jaguars 25 out of 32. I saw on the Establish the Run website where the Jaguar offensive line is obviously going to be way down the list, and that's with good reason. The offensive line wasn't very good last year, so I don't fault the rankings for that. But as I'm reading these rankings, particularly the wide receiver and the offensive line part, I got to thinking, all right, where are the Jaguars position-wise a top 10 or even a top 5 unit? So let's talk about it. Quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. Admittedly, no, he's probably not in the top 10. He's definitely not in the top 5. Running back, Travis Etienne. He's arguable in the top 10. I think there's an argument for him there. Wide receiver, no. Offensive line, no. Defensively, Jags defensive line, a top 10 unit in the NFL? Probably not. Trayvon Walker, Josh Allen, Eric Armstead. All right, but what do you really have after that? They're probably not a top 10 unit at linebacker. And they're probably not a top 10 unit in the secondary. So, wow, where are they top 10? And I'll tell you where they're top 10. They're top 10 at tight end. There's no question. They're top 10 at tight end. Evan Ingram, to me, is a top 5 tight end in this league. Now, a lot of lists have George Kittle and Travis Kelce in some order, 1 and 2, and it's hard to debate that. A lot of lists then will go Mark Andrews and TJ Hawkinson. That's where I believe you can begin having a conversation. But even if you give me those 4, George Kittle, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, and TJ Hawkinson, nobody else is better than Evan Ingram after that. Don't give me Sam Laporta, and don't give me Kyle Pitts. And right now, at this age in his career, don't give me Dallas Goedert. Evan Ingram caught 114 passes last year, 2 shy of the all-time single-season record for a tight end. Evan Ingram is absolutely putting the Jaguars in the top 10, or dare I say the top 5 of tight end rooms in this league. And with that as a backdrop, let me throw this at you. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence and Josh Allen are the faces of this team. One on offense, one on defense. No question about that. Is Evan Ingram number 3? Is Evan Ingram the 3rd best player on this team behind Trevor Lawrence and behind Josh Allen? Because, again, you take every position the Jaguars have, the only debatable one would be running back with Etienne. Other than that, no other position to me is going to rank in the top 10 of the NFL in their given position units, with the obvious exception of tight end, in which Evan Ingram is absolutely in the top 10, if not the top 5. And I just wonder, based on that, and that alone, after Trevor Lawrence and after Josh Allen, do you then put Evan Ingram as the 3rd most important player on the Jacksonville Jaguars? I think there's absolutely a debate there. You could argue Etienne, you could argue Christian Kirk, you could argue Tyson Campbell, maybe argue Trayvon Walker, but I don't think any of those guys mean more to the Jaguars than Evan Ingram. Where would this offense have been without Evan Ingram last year? Now, we know they missed Christian Kirk. But what if you reverse those roles? Kirk stayed healthy and Ingram got hurt. I think the same thing would have applied. I think the offense would have been lost. Evan Ingram is vital to the success of this football team, is vital to the success of this offense. If you want the Jaguars to compete for a playoff spot, a division championship, and even more than that, you need Evan Ingram to stay healthy because he's absolutely a top 10, dare I say a top 5 tight end in this league. And to me, that probably makes him the third most important Jacksonville Jaguar coming into 2024 behind, obviously, Trevor Lawrence and Josh Allen. Give me your thoughts. 641-1010 on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. I might put a poll question out there as well. Third most important Jaguar behind Lawrence, behind Allen. Am I right? Is it Evan Ingram? Is it somebody else? Your thoughts welcome on the text line 641-1010. Dylan Denmark, your thoughts on that? Do I make a compelling argument that Ingram's the third most important guy on the roster?
You can make that argument, especially. I mean, I kind of look at it from the standpoint of if somebody gets hurt, how replaceable is he and how valuable is he? So you have to ask yourself: is the offense the same if Ingram is out for, say, a couple of weeks? You can make that argument. I'd probably go, somebody on the lines of scrimmage, maybe a Trayvon Walker, maybe ETN. I probably wouldn't go ETN, but somebody of that caliber. We saw, last year Christian Kirk got hurt as a receiver, and the offense wasn't the same. And had he played in that Cincinnati game, we would have probably won, and then probably won the division. So you can go a couple of different ways with that, though.
Oh, the offense was hideous when Christian Kirk left, but I got a feeling if you switch the roles, if Kirk stays healthy and Evan Ingram gets hurt, probably the same thing would have happened. Trevor Lawrence's two favorite targets on this team, and it's not even close, are Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk, and it's not even close. Those guys have got to stay healthy. What about that thought about the tight end position? You look at all the positions of the Jaguars, comparing them to other positions to other teams. Again, PFF has the wide receiver room 25th out of 32. I think that's pretty low. But I got to be honest, outside of running back, I don't think there is a compelling argument to put the Jaguar position groups in any of the top 10s, with the obvious exception of Evan Ingram in the tight end room. To me, the Jaguar tight end room, because of him, is a top 10, if not a top 5 room.
Yeah, I would say with Laporta and those other guys, it feels like, and I don't watch a lot of those games, it feels like those guys have the big playability that Ingram really hasn't shown the last couple of years. Ingram, what's his longest touchdown probably been? 20, 30 yards?
Well, he had the long one against Cincinnati last year that people forget about because they lost, but I think it was like a 35, 40-yard play.
Yeah, it just seems like everybody else has the capability of going to 50 or 60, and Ingram doesn't, even though he can. I think people would just gauge it, and the national media gauge it on how these guys are at their best instead of what they are week in and week out. Because week in and week out, Evan Ingram is definitely a top 5 tight end.
I'll throw that poll question out on 1010XL Twitter and on my own personal Twitter account, at Ryan Green 1010XL. Where is Evan Ingram in the hierarchy of Jaguars? Now, I'm going to exclude Trevor and Josh Allen, right? Because they're obviously 1 and 1A, 1 and 2. But if you take them off the board, I give you Evan Ingram, I give you Christian Kirk, I give you Travis Etienne, and I guess Denmark, Trayvon Walker would be the other one?
Yeah, that's what I would do.
You could argue Tyson Campbell, I suppose, but I'll go Trayvon. Who is most important? I'll throw that out on Twitter here in just a moment. All right, Denmark, you were locked in last night. Admittedly, I was locked in last night to the track and field. We had 2 local young men here from Jacksonville that made it all the way to the finals of the 100 meters that were that close away from getting to Paris to the Olympics. Christian Williams, we've interviewed him, right? The young man from Creekside. I talked to him at one of the high school awareness days out of the Riverside YMCA. And man alive, he was so close to getting in the Olympics in the 100 meters, finished 5th, 1/10 of a second behind the guys in front of him. My question to you, because you're the track coach at Baldwin, you admittedly are more into this, space than I am. Is it unbelievable disappointment, or is it, holy cow, an 18-year-old was that close to getting on the Olympic team?
Yeah, it's definitely not disappointing. I was going to be really surprised had he gotten that 3rd spot. I know it was going to be a fight for that 3rd spot. It's just incredible to me that a kid that's in high school, that's 18 years old, he's only ran 2 pro events going into this, if I'm not mistaken, and he ran against the world champion from last year, Noah Lyles, the world champion from 2 years ago in the 100-meter curly, and then Christian Coleman, who got fourth, has also been a world champion in the 100-meter dash. So it's incredible, one, that he's able to do that, and then also Saturday he got a bad start, and then came back yesterday, had 2 good runs. I mean, running sub 10, running in the 9.9s as an 18-year-old is incredible. He's only been able to do that twice in his career, and he did it in the same weekend on the biggest stage. So it seems like he's going to have a big career coming forward. He's only 18, and like you said before the show, I mean, a lot of these guys are in their mid-20s. That's when you really see their peak. So he's definitely somebody you should keep your eye on as the Olympics go on for years to come.
And they gave Christian a lot of love on NBC. I thought that was great. I mean, they were really talking about him a lot, which I didn't expect. I mean, with all the great talent, former Olympians that were in the field, they dedicated a lot of time to our young man from Creekside High School, which I thought was very, very cool. And there was another one, right, from Stanton, correct?
Yeah, Kendall Williams. He's been running pro the last couple of years. He got, I think, 8th. It's still incredible. I mean, we always talk about the athletes that play football and basketball and baseball, but, I mean, think about this. Everybody pretty much can run for the most part. The top 9 in the country, 2 of them were from Jacksonville.
Yeah. No, it's incredible. It's again, the caliber of athletes in our city don't hold second place to anybody. And football, baseball, the basketball talent we've had come out of here, the golf talent we've had come out of here, and now obviously the track and field talent that was on display last night. But we'll see. Is it a done deal? Both guys aren't going to Paris, or potentially could one or both of them still find their way on the team in some capacity?
Christian Miller's got a shot. It's up to the coaches if he is able to run the 4x1 in the pool, because how it works when you get to Paris is your A team doesn't run usually the first and second round. They try to save their legs for the individual events for their 100 and 200. So we'll see. I don't know this for a fact, but I don't think that he's been running relay teams and been practicing with the guys that are going to be going to the Olympics for the 4x1, because it's a lot like basketball. You could have a lot of talented guys, but you got to work with them. The 4x1's not just having 4 fast guys and running a relay. It's all about time and chemistry. So it's still to be determined.
All right, we'll see. But, yeah, I was into it, man. The diving, the swimming. They had 9 days of swimming Olympic trials in Indianapolis. That was a heck of a scene, by the way, putting that pool on the field or in the stadium where the Colts play. That was quite the setup in Indy. That was a lot of fun. And, obviously, the track and field, which is still going on. As the Olympics, the opening ceremonies are 1 month from Wednesday. July the 26th is the opening ceremonies of the Paris Olympic Games. With Dylan Denmark, the Hacker Ryan Green with you. Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us. It's a Monday night edition of Hacker After Dark. Tennessee has taken a 2-1 lead on Texas A&M, bottom of the third. Again, the winner of this game will win the College World Series. Edmonton and Florida about to drop the puck. Game 7. Again, you don't have to be the biggest hockey fan, and goodness knows I'm not the biggest hockey fan, so I'm not trying to get on a pedestal here and preach to you. But if you're a sports fan, Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, I just hope it's a good game. It's a competitive game down to the third period. And if this freaking thing goes to overtime, where the next goal wins the cup, whew, there's not a whole lot better in sports than that. So just for the pageantry of it, you should give it a watch tonight. Edmonton and Florida about to drop the puck. Game 7, Florida had a 3-0 lead in the series. Edmonton has came all the way back to force a deciding game tonight down in South Florida. More Jaguar talk, more NFL talk coming up with former Jaguar defensive lineman Lige Douzable. The man played 10 years in the National Football League, some of those years right here in Jacksonville. You now hear him on Sirius XM NFL Radio. You see him on CBS Sports HQ. We'll talk the Trevor Lawrence contract extension. We'll talk Gabe Davis. And we'll talk a lot more with former Jaguar Lige Douzable next. Monday night, Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
Ever wonder how Dan and Jeff got hired at 1010XL?
You guys have any skills at all?
Please. The drill.
Yeah, we have skills.
Mornings.
I'm sorry. Maybe you already answered this, but why exactly are we here?
On 1010XL.
Hi, I'm David Lane, your average everyday Joe. I'm 5 months out of my back surgery with Southeast Orthopedic, and I'm doing great. Thanks to Dr. Herford and his staff at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
David Garrard here. Playing in the NFL can put a lot of wear and tear on your body, especially your knees. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists has kept me mobile and ready to tackle every day.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Our returning champion, a basketball court sweat mopper from Jacksonville, Florida, meet Louis Cramp.
Great to be back, Merv.
There's only one category left on the board, Louis. People you can trust to repair your air conditioner. Your 10 seconds starts now.
Well, I'm pretty handy with tools around. Right, so my Uncle Steve used to fix transmissions, so maybe he could... Okay, sorry. I guess just call the guys at Bueller?
That's right, Louis. The highly trained technicians at Bueller Air and Plumbing have the tools and the experience to service any make and model of home air conditioner to make sure that you are cool.
You sure I can't just have a quick...
Yeah, we're done for today. Visit BuellerAir.com.
Hi, I'm Kamiko, the founder of Miko's Hot Chicken. When we started our family restaurant, we were also raising a family. But let me tell you, it wasn't easy. Our Chase Inc. card was there to reward us on all of our business needs. Now we have a thriving location, and we're hungry for more.
With the Chase Inc. Business Unlimited card, you can earn unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase, so your business can go from here to possible. Chase for business. Make more with yours. Real business owners compensated for their participation. Cards issued by J.P. Morgan Chase Bank and member FDIC. Subject to credit approval. Terms apply.
Hey, it's Roger Moore, CEO of Loan Pronto. If you're like me, you're getting crushed by rising costs of everything these days. I get it. It's brutal, and credit card rates are ridiculous and going higher. That's why at Loan Pronto, we launched our Express Equity Line of Credit to bring you the relief you and your family need, using your home, your most valuable asset. We've helped thousands of people like you get fast relief with cash. The average homeowner who does this gets tens of thousands in just days and is able to save $850 per month in overall expenses. I'm talking life-changing money. Your money that you have access to right now. Listen, if you're ready to get control of your finances and get off the hamster wheel, call Loan Pronto. You can get approved for Express Equity Line of Credit in just minutes, and we can get your cash in less than a week. Stop digging a deeper credit card hole today. Call Loan Pronto now. 904-999-1508. 904-999-1508. LoanPronto.com. 904-999-1508.
Equal housing lender. NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval. NMLS ConsumerAccess.org.
Start your Sunday off with a cup of Joe and some sports medicine intel. This is Joe C. inviting you to join me and Dr. George Bari for Breaking Bones every Sunday morning at 7:30. And if you miss an episode, just look for Breaking Bones wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey guys, this is David Garrard, and I want to tell you about Clearwater Irrigation. They put my new sprinkler system in at my new home at Jack's Beach, and I couldn't be happier. Oh, hey, John.
What's up, Dave? You know what this means. You're going to have to sing.
Man, I can't sing.
Then you'll fit right in, buddy. Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers. Hit it, Dave.
And drainage, too.
ClearwaterJacks.com.
Mia here, and we've all been there before. A weekend trip to the casino? Canceled because real life came calling. MyBookie's new and improved online casino is here to change the game. Dive into a truly realistic casino experience featuring the latest in slots, progressive jackpots, and live dealer action, all from the comfort of your own home. The live casino is so easy to use. Just go to MyBookie and click Live Casino at the top. You'll find live dealers ready to deal or spin just like you're at the casino. The MyBookie Casino provides a Las Vegas experience when the action's in the palm of your hands and you don't even need to wear pants. Start at MyBookie today with a generous sign-up bonus using promo code 1010XL. A revamped loyalty program ensures a host of exclusive VIP perks. Sign up and hit the casino with promo code 1010XL. The more you play, the more you win, only with MyBookie.
Hacker here coming in hot. I'm so freaking stoked right now I could do cartwheels. Well, maybe not cartwheels yet, but soon, after already shedding a jaw-dropping 70 pounds thanks to the miracle workers at Awaken 180. My doc just told me to forget the scalpel. I was scheduled this month for a procedure for a vein in my leg, but thanks to dropping the 70 pounds, I no longer needed it. He was impressed, to say the least. He hasn't ever seen a transformation like I'm having with Awaken 180 weight loss. In reality, all that extra weight was dragging me down. Not just figuratively, but literally. The benefits of losing it have been nothing short of amazing. Yes, a weight loss program that works can actually be done. And most importantly, done easily. If weight's holding you back and you don't think there's a plan you can do, let me tell you, there is. 70 pounds in 3 months, guys. It's doable. So do it online at awaken180weightloss.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. We are now inside of a month away from the Jaguars reporting for training camp, and that first preseason game, well, it's right around the corner on Saturday night, August the 10th. Let's talk Jaguars. Let's talk the Trevor Lawrence extension, and let's talk about the AFC South with a former Jacksonville Jaguar, a man that spent many years in the National Football League, defensive lineman Leger Douzable. You see him now all over the place. You hear him on Sirius XM NFL Radio. You see him on CBS Sports HQ, and you also get his terrific work as a college football analyst for ESPN. Leger, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Well, Jay, we're good, man. Thank you for the time, as always. You and I haven't spoken in a couple of months, and the last time you and I talked, I don't think Josh Allen had signed his extension. I know Trevor hasn't signed his extension yet, and now here we are in the late parts of June, and the Jaguars locked both guys up on 5-year deals. Your reaction, beginning with Trevor, to both contracts?
Yeah, when it comes down to Trevor Lawrence, I think this is a scenario where Trent Baalke, the GM, was looking at the landscape and what the market value was for the quarterbacks that are about to be free agents or potentially get extensions. You know, Patrick Mahomes is probably due for a new deal. You think Josh Allen coming up in the next year or two is due for a new deal. So is Tua Tagovailoa. So he wanted to get ahead of it. And I know a lot of people will look at the number when you talk about what he's making annually and say, that is outrageous. But when you pair it with the 2 years he had left on his rookie deal, it averages out about $47 million a year. And I think that's how the Jaguars are looking at this. And now it comes down to Trevor Lawrence. Can he finally take that next step? Right? We keep hearing everything about the upside that he has, right? But when are the Jaguars and when are Trevor Lawrence going to realize that upside, right? So when you look at this deal, I think they just wanted to get ahead of the quarterback market, and the consistencies has been the issue with Trevor Lawrence, right? Turning the football over, 60 turnovers in his first 3 years, right? Over 21 turnovers last year. And if you really look at it, when the Jags had things going when they were 8-3 and he got banged up a little bit, if you look at those last 5 games, 10 total turnovers in those last 5 games, the Jaguars went 0-5. So a lot of that wasn't all on him, right? There were some issues with the interior offensive line. They've tried to really fortify that. They brought in Mitch Morse, who's been a consummate pro, a guy that's played at a high level. They also got him some weapons on the outside. I love the Gabe Davis signing in the offseason. And I know we're going to talk draft later, but getting Brian Thomas, a speedster that can really take the top off the defense, is going to open things up underneath for Ingram and also Christian Kirk. So Trent Baalke, I would say, has done a really good job of making sure Trevor Lawrence has every weapon at his disposal, also refortifying that offensive line. Now it comes down to Trevor Lawrence. They want to see the guy that led the Jaguars to that 8-3 record before the injury that potentially was fighting for the number 1 seed in the AFC. Can he be that guy going forward?
Former Jaguar Leger Douzable here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. You mentioned the outside weapons. We'll get to Josh Allen in a moment, but since we're on the topic, all right, I got a picture in my phone in August of last year of Zay Jones, Jamal Agnew, Calvin Ridley, and Christian Kirk. And I remember thinking at the time, wow, I mean, it's not a bad foursome to have for the next couple of years.
Correct.
And now 75% of those guys are gone. In their place, Christian Kirk, the elder statesman, Devin Duvernay, obviously Gabe Davis, as you mentioned, and Brian Thomas Jr. Leger, have they done enough at wide receiver to replace what they lost and help Trevor out?
Yeah, I think a name that you're forgetting in there is Evan Ingram, and he is essentially like a number 2 or number 3 receiver, right? When you look at the numbers and target shares that he gets, they like to get him involved. Now, he's not a traditional tight end in the fact that he's going to knock your face off in the run game, but he is a mismatch from hell for linebackers and safety over the middle of the field. I mean, this guy just finds a way to get open and has a real rapport with Trevor Lawrence. So when you look at it, and like you were saying, a year or two ago, when you look at Calvin Ridley, you look at, Zay Jones, you look at Christian Kirk, you're like, wow, they actually have, some good quality depth. I think their depth is even better now. When you talk about a guy like Gabe Davis, who they got to see close to close last year in Jacksonville when he went over 100 yards versus Jacksonville, right? He's a guy that has been known to average or be one of the top guys in yards per catch in the NFL. So he's a guy that can take the top off the defense. You get out a speedster like Brian Thomas, who I thought could have did a lot more at LSU, but they didn't ask him to do more because they had Malik Neighbors on the other side. Now you get a young Brian Thomas, you can really mold and make him a complete receiver. And I've been the biggest fan of Christian Kirk, even when Jacksonville signed him to that deal. And a lot of people scoffed at it, right, because of the money he was making. And I told everybody, I was like, Christian Kirk is a really good one, at worst a high-end two, but he's proven with Trevor Lawrence that he's a true one, because just look at Trevor Lawrence's numbers when Christian Kirk was not in the ball game last year, right? He really struggled because that's the guy he really confines in, the guy that when he's in trouble, that's who he goes to. He can trust in Christian Kirk. And I think that he's been worth every penny that Jacksonville gave him a few years ago. So when I look at this depth, I think it's even better because I think you have to add Evan Ingram into that receiving core because he's not a traditional tight end, right? He's a guy that's going to have a high target share, and he's going to catch a lot of passes for Trevor Lawrence.
That's fair. I believe Devin Duvernay and even Parker Washington as well could be big fixtures. And
I love Parker Washington's grittiness. I think he adds a different dynamic to that receiving room.
No, I agree. And we haven't even mentioned, Brenton Strange and Tank Bigsby, two guys coming into year 2 that need to have very big years. Leger, you know better than anybody, man, a decade in the National Football League trying to get to the quarterback on the D-line. An offense is only as good as an O-line. The Jaguars figured that out last year when Trevor kept getting hit. All right, Cam Robinson, Ezra Cleveland, you mentioned Mitch Morse, Brandon Sheriff, Anton Harrison. Do you believe that starting 5 is good enough here in Jacksonville?
If they can stay healthy, that's been the issue with Sheriff, right, for most of his career, right? When he's healthy, he's one of the best in the league. When he's not, he struggles. So I think that's the biggest question mark going into the season. I think Cam Robinson has been steady Eddie. Anton is a young ascending player. I really love the Ezra Cleveland trade midway through last year, and it paid dividends with an extension as well. And then I talked about Mitch Morse being the consummate pro, a guy that's going to get everybody lined up and on the same page at the center position for Jacksonville. I think that was the biggest missing piece for them at the center position last year, the guy that can tie everything together. And you got a veteran that's played a lot of football that can really do that for this group. That is a mixture of some young guys and a mixture of some older guys. But I think health is the biggest thing, and that's the biggest thing for everybody, right, in the NFL. Like, your starting 5 can be good, but you're only as good as your depth, right? So your depth has to be really good. You got to bank on one of your guards being able to play probably 5 or 6 games, and one of your swing tackles having to play at least 5 or 6 games. That's just the National Football League. Guys get banged up, and when guys got banged up for Jacksonville, they had no answer in the depth department, right? So that was the struggle. So they have to stay healthy, and I think that offensive line, if everybody is healthy, I think that is good enough for Trevor Lawrence to be able to get the ball to the playmakers on the outside.
I think it's a great point. I have no idea how to even look this up, but you talk about offensive linemen 6, 7, and maybe 8 on every team. You could do a lot worse than Walker Little, Luke Fortner, and Tyler Shatley. Those 3 guys have played a lot of football. So now,
and you make a good point, right? Because last year, a lot of those guys were called on to be starters. Now they're depth pieces, right? So like I was saying, you can feel comfortable with Walker Little being a backup or Luke Fortner being a backup if they have to come in and sublet you for 3 or 4 games or maybe even a couple snaps in the game. You feel way more comfortable instead of just having them out there as starters. Now you got them as good depth pieces. And like on every team, your swing guy, your swing guard, your swing tackle, in your mind, you have to think that they're going to play at least 4 to 5 games. I think Jacksonville's in a way more comfortable position this year with the depth that they have.
Couple of more for former Jaguar D lineman Lijay Douzable. You hear him on Sirius XM NFL Radio. You also see him at CBS Sports HQ and as a college football analyst there on ESPN. All right, defensively, your bread and butter. Let's talk about Josh Allen. He got paid this offseason. Lijay, your reaction to that?
It's about time, to be honest with you. I mean, I know a lot of people were trying to figure out if he was truly a game wrecker, and he answered all those questions this past year. I mean, 17 and a half sacks, but I'll take it a step further. He had 4 games where he had 2.5 sacks. That is game wrecking when you're talking about a guy literally taking over a game. I remember watching that London game specifically versus Atlanta, the first London game. And literally he took over that game with 3 big sacks in that game to make sure Jacksonville put that game away. So I thought this was a great job by the team, you know, Trent Baalke and ownership getting this deal done. And another thing, when you have a first rounder on your team, like you want to pay those guys. You don't want those guys to walk in free agency. Like you want to hit on your first round picks because those are supposed to be foundational pieces. Well, Josh Allen proved that he's a foundational piece. And the scary thing is, he may be even better this year because when you look at this defensive line, when you add a guy like Eric Armstead, Trayvon Walker was one of the best defensive linemen in football down the stretch of the season, finishing with over 10 sacks. And then you talk about the scheme fit, right? Now with defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen, right? It's a 4-man front. They're not going to ask Josh Allen to really drop in coverage. He's going to be able to really pin his ears back and get to the quarterback. Where in last year's scheme, right, there was times he had to drop in coverage. Well, Ryan Nielsen is not going to ask him to do that. He's going to ask him to go get the quarterback.
You know, it's interesting, too, in that everybody talked about the collapse last year being on the offense. Well, the defense was awful at times, and that's why Mike Caldwell was shown the door. And you look at it, Lijay, I mean, you figure, 25 guys, a nice number there, 25 defensive players make a roster. All right, well, let's think about this. Mason Smith, Jordan Jefferson, Eric Armstead, Trevis Gibson, Ronald Darby, Darnell Savage, Jarian Jones. I mean, you can go on down the line. Almost half of those defensive guys, including, by the way, the coaching staff, as you mentioned, are going to be new. I mean, how vital is training camp in the preseason with so much newness on the defense?
Yeah, you always see the defense gel a little bit faster than the offense, especially even though there's new guys, just because defense in regards to the playbook, it's a little bit more simpler in the beginning of the training camp, right? And so they tend to gel a little bit more. But to your point, it's very important, right? Especially for like you're implementing a guy like Eric Armstead, Ronald Darby, Darnell Savage. These guys are going to be starters on your team, right? They have to understand how everybody else plays, especially on the D line, right? Got to understand how everybody rushes next to you. I always talk about rush lane responsibility. Everybody has to be on one accord because if you leave a seam open, that's easy for a quarterback to step up in the pocket and throw it or even potentially take off and run. And then in the secondary, you got 2 new starters in the secondary with Darnell Savage and Ronald Darby, who I'm a big fan of, actually was his teammate in 2016 with the Buffalo Bills. I think he had a hell of a year for the Baltimore Ravens. That was a big pickup for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like just learning this new scheme with Ryan Nielsen, right? Like this is going to be big the first few days and weeks of training camp for everybody to come in and gel together. So talked about Eric Armstead being added. There's literally one big addition at every, I would say, position, except for maybe linebacker. We talk about D-line, Eric Armstead. You talk about the corner position and Ronald Darby. And then at the safety position with Darnell Savage, it's imperative that these guys hit the ground running at training camp to really gel. Because like you said, a lot of the season last year, the defense kind of let them down for big stretches of the season last year, which ultimately had them not going to the playoffs. Now, Trevor Lawrence didn't play well, especially when he was banged up, but the defense really wasn't stopping anybody at stretches at times. So that's why there was a wholesale change at the defensive side, and Ryan Nielsen comes in as defensive coordinator.
Final moments with former Jaguar defensive lineman Lijay Douzable. All right, not to put words in your mouth, but it seems like you, being a former player and a national guy, are maybe higher on Trent Baalke than some. Baalke gets a lot of grief. He gets a ton of grief.
It's funny, people have been coming after me because of it, too.
Yeah, so, I mean, so speak on that. I mean, you 10 years in the league, being in the media now, you obviously know what you're talking about. Why do you think Baalke has done a good job? And maybe more importantly, why do you think he gets so much grief?
One, I'm not going to say I'm a Trent Baalke guy, but I'm not mad at his moves. I think that's the best way to actually put it, right? Like I'm not as upset as most people are, because I talked about that when Trevor Lawrence got his deal, and people literally were at my mentions like, he's done a terrible job, and I'm like, hold on. The guy traded for Calvin Ridley last year. He got a 1,000-yard receiver for essentially a 5th-round pick. That's not a good move. The one move that I pushed back on him on was the Trayvon Walker selection over Aiden Hutchinson. But besides that, I don't think he's made any bad moves. Has Christian Kirk not paid off? Has Evan Ingram not paid off? Has Alua Khan not paid off? I'm like, y'all tell me what hasn't paid off besides maybe taking Trayvon Walker. And actually that might hit as well too, because he had 10 sacks last year. And then when you look at what he did, we talked about it earlier, right? Refortifying that offensive line to make sure your young franchise quarterback stays upright. Right? You bring in a consummate pro in Mitch Morse. You bring in a guy in Gabe Davis who's going to be highly motivated, playing closer to home, right? A guy that led the NFL in yards per catch. Then you get a speedster in Brian Thomas that take the top off the defense. And I really love the Darnell Savage and the Ronald Darby signing. And they needed to get some inside push, right? So what do? They get a guy that not only has Super Bowl experience in Eric Armstead, but is a true leader who he's been, the Walter Payton Man of the Year for multiple times for the San Francisco 49ers. You bring him in to push the pocket. Now when Trayvon Walker or Josh Allen hit that edge, the quarterback's not going to be able to step up. So, I would say going into it, when Trent Baalke was first named GM for Jacksonville, I wasn't the biggest fan. But I've not been mad at any of his moves. The only one like I said, that I would maybe question was the Trayvon Walker one, but it looks like that could potentially pan out. So it's like, I don't understand why people are so mad. Again, when injuries happen, that's not on the GM, right? Christian Kirk going down or Trevor Lawrence getting banged up. That's not on the GM getting, not having the players out there at 100%, or Brandon Sheriff not being healthy all the time, or Luke Fortner struggling even though he started as a rookie. That's not on the GM. That's on development, right? So, but when you look at the moves he actually made and the contribution of those guys, when you talk about Evan Ingram, Calvin Ridley, right, Christian Kirk, have those not panned out? So that's why I understand, people, they trip me out with that. They're like, what are you talking about? He's been awful. And I'm like, I only question one of his moves. Other than that, I think he's had some real solid moves.
You and I are completely on the same page there. Absolutely. Final question, man. AFC South. If you and I would have talked in June of 23, we would have used terms like the worst division in football, the most boring division in football. All of a sudden, now here we are a month outside of training camp. Outside of the two Northern divisions, probably the AFC North and probably the NFC North, I think you can make an argument the AFC South might be the third best division in the National Football League, top to bottom.
Yeah, you wouldn't be lying. I think some people might say the NFC West maybe is probably competing for that spot as well, but you're not lying, right? Besides the AFC North, NFC North, the AFC South is there, right? And like you said before, it was kind of like the laughing stock of the NFL, everybody figured when they're playing an AFC South team that it was going to be a win. But now, with each of these teams having young quarterbacks that they can really build their franchises around, it's not going to be no easy out when you play the AFC South, because talk about Trevor Lawrence and the additions that the Jacksonville Jaguars have made. We saw what C.J. Stroud did last year with the Texans, and they only got better in the offseason. I don't think anybody thought the Indianapolis Colts were going to win 9 games last year. I think a lot of people thought they were going to be picking in the top 5. And now you get Anthony Richardson coming back, hopefully healthy this year as well. So when you look at this division, then I ain't even talking about Tennessee, who the Jacksonville Jaguars lost Calvin Ridley, and he went over there, and now Will Levis has 2 number 1 receivers, right, and him and DeAndre Hopkins on the outside. And they've refortified that offensive line. So they're going to be a lot stiffer as far as competition this year as well. So like you said before, this was probably the laughing stock of not just the AFC, but probably the NFL. But now it's like when you play an AFC South team, you're like, oh, we got to strap it up, because it could get real. Like you said, besides the 2 North divisions, they probably are vying for that, 3rd or 4th best division in football. So it's not going to be easy out. I think what it really comes down to is that each team has a young quarterback that could be their franchise guy. So when you look at it, when you have a franchise guy, you got a chance. And that's what the AFC South has at the quarterback position for a lot of these teams. And those quarterbacks are extremely young.
It's been a drastic change in the division, no question about it. Elijah, tell fans fans here in Jacksonville where they can find you. We mentioned Sirius XM NFL Radio. You're also CBS Sports HQ, and soon you'll be working Saturdays with ESPN College Football. Where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me at all those, and then on social media, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, is at Lee Doozable. Same thing for Instagram. I interact, man. Hit me up on X, Twitter, Instagram. I like talking to the people, so I like having open discussions, especially about football. So anytime you guys want to have a discussion, just hit me up on X, Twitter, Instagram. Also, I'm an amateur chef, so I've been posting a lot of my stuff on Instagram and X lately.
Interesting. Anton Harrison here in Jacksonville, I don't know if you followed him, but he's kind of getting into that a little bit as well, posting recipes and whatnot and things that he likes and doesn't like. So maybe you guys could connect and do something there. Former Jaguar and a current Jacksonville Jaguar. Lee Doozable. Lee, I know you're busy, man. Thank you as always for the time. We'll talk again soon.
No question. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's like AC on the beach. 1010XL, Jacksonville's cool summer sports talk.
Hey, Hicken here. I couldn't be any happier than to join the George Moore Chevrolet family. When I say family, I mean it. Visit their beautiful showroom today off Atlantic Boulevard. Find out exactly what I'm talking about. No pressure, just friendly help. And whether you want a car, a truck, SUV, electric, pre-owned, you name it, George Moore Chevrolet has it. And if you can't make it over to Atlantic Boulevard, no problem. MooreChevy.com is easy to navigate as any site you will try. It's never been more easy to use. George Moore Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
15,000 workers. I'm Brian Rose from Remedy Staffing. We survey 15,000 blue-collar workers each year to better understand what drives quality and dependability in our workforce. The survey shows when looking for a new job, the initial pay rate, job security, and safety while working are the most important factors for hourly workers. If you're an employer and would like to learn more about the voice of the blue-collar worker, please call us at 904-528-1933.
Make your outdoor living perfect with Art of Natural Stone. Pavers, patios, gravel, pool decks, and more. Using all natural stone design, and they do the installation. Visit Art of Natural Stone on Route 1 near Bartram Springs or on Beach Boulevard.
Sometimes the most important position in sports needs a translator.
I'm Denny Thompson, and they call me the quarterback whisperer.
He shares his insights Friday mornings on The Drill. Brought to you by Tyson Sound and Security and George Moore Chevrolet.
Hey sports fans, it's Hayes Carlyon for Kingfish Pest Control. Look, if mosquitoes ruin your summer fun, it's time to call Kingfish Pest Control. In my own experience, they are the kings of mosquito elimination. Call Kingfish Pest Control today and get 50% off your first treatment. Sign up for a full season of lockdown coverage and get half off your first treatment. Don't let mosquitoes steal your home field advantage. Reclaim your yard with Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
The hottest trend in casual dining has expanded in Jacksonville with its 5th location off 103rd. The Flame Broiler serves up protein-packed rice bowls. It's fast, healthy, and affordable. Order online at flamebroilerusa.com or visit any of our 5 locations. Flame Broiler, simply healthy.
Now that's what I call high-quality H2O. If you want high-quality water throughout your home, call your local water boy. We install equipment to solve any water problem. Waterboy, JAX.com.
I got more proactive with my health by doing a total body MRI scan at Ackerman Cancer Center. The MRI scanned the most common cancer areas for men and a whole lot more. Call Ackerman Cancer Center to learn about total body MRI and use code GREG15 to get special pricing.
New and pre-owned firearms are in stock at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach. Want a new sidearm or rifle? Brands like Kimber, Smith & Wesson, 6 Hour, Beretta. No lines, no hassle. Only at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
It's the coolest week to save during the summer fan sale at First Coast Lighting and Fans. Buy one fan, save 10%. Buy two, save 15%. Buy three or more and save 20% off all fans at First Coast Lighting and Fans. Showroom near the Avenues.
For lost or broken keys or nearly any make and model of vehicle, call 722-1111 for
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Transmission troubles? I'm Robin Sidbury, owner of Action Transmission Specialist on Merrill Road. So come in and see how we can help solve your transmission troubles. We service all makes and models. Remember, get traction. Call Action at 744-0755.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. Big night in the world of sports. Deciding games in both college baseball and the National Hockey League. Bottom 5 in Omaha. Tennessee up 3-1. The winner of this game will win the first College World Series for their respective program. A&M at the plate. They're down 3-1 in the bottom of the 5th. And in the National Hockey League, Game 7, Edmonton and Florida. We got 4:20 to go in the opening period. The Panthers jumped out 1-0. Verhaeghe got on the board about 3.5 minutes in. Edmonton, no more than 3 minutes later, responding with a goal of their own. We're all tied, 1 apiece. 4 minutes to go in the first period of a winner-take-all, Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Final. We will keep you updated. Had an interesting situation happen to me yesterday. My wife and my son are out of town till July 9th, I believe, 2 weeks from tomorrow. They're up visiting her parents and his grandparents up in Maine. But my wife's birthday happens to come up this Thursday, so she obviously won't be here. So she told me one of the things that she wanted, and I said, yeah, absolutely, I'll go get it for you, no problem. In Denmark, it was a cup, right? A very nice cup. You know, there's like Yetis and there's Tervises. I don't know how I would exactly describe this cup, but it was a nice cup with a nice price tag that I had to go to Target yesterday to get. The issue was, yesterday was the first day this line of cups, I guess, was released at Targets across America. So I show up there at 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning, right? And I'll be a son of a gun if there wasn't a decent line of nothing but females. I was the only dude there, mind you. Nothing but females waiting in line to get this cup.
Is it a Stanley Cup?
Yeah, not the one they'll be skating with tonight, obviously. But yes, I guess. I mean, it's a nice cup. I took a picture of it, Denmark. I'll share it with you.
Yeah, because the Stanley ones are the new thing. Their car burnt to the ground, but the cup was still in good shape. And then from that video, everybody's lost their collective minds and buying these Stanley Cups.
Well, I guess Target comes out with these every once in a while, and they always sell out. So Heidi told me if I was going to get it, to get there early. So I said, all right, whatever. So 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning, and there's a line to get cups that you drink water out of or whatever. I mean, I have never in my life thought I had to get there to tailgate to get a cup. But man alive, I'm happy she told me to get there early because I would not have gotten it if I would have waited yesterday afternoon. And there was a certain color she wanted. And that
what color was it?
It was like a light blue color, almost like a sky blue type color. Bottom line is she's happy, a happy wife, happy life. So I'm in good standing. But I had to wait 20 minutes to get a cup. And the one nice lady that was working there yesterday is like, wow, you're the only guy that's here this early in the morning. I said, that's because I'm a fantastic husband.
Is it north of $40?
It was a tad north. $40 is the United States. I was in southern to central Canada.
Yeah,
So-
I'm looking at these cups right here. 40 ounces is like $45.
Yes, it was a
depending on-
40. Yeah, you're probably exactly. It was a Stanley
Yep.
Cup. Yeah, it was what it was.
Jeez.
Yeah, $48 with tax, as a matter of fact,
That's
Denmark.
insane.
So hopefully the water or tea or whatever Heidi drinks out of said cup will be as enjoyable in a $48 cup as it would be in one of the paper cups that I usually use at the house. Boys, some shocking results here, and I really mean this. That's not hyperbole. That's not radio shtick. I told you guys in the opening segment that I was of the opinion that after Trevor Lawrence and after Josh Allen, I could make a compelling argument for Evan Ingram being the third most important Jaguar entering 2024. Because I think Evan Ingram and the tight end group here in Jacksonville is a top 10 position group in the NFL. And I'm not sure how many other position groups you could say that about on this roster. So I put on Twitter, just for the heck of it, outside of Trevor and Josh, who is the most important Jaguar coming into the season? Your options were Evan Ingram, Travis Etienne, Christian Kirk, and Trayvon Walker. You only can put 4. I mean, obviously, you can make an argument for Tyson Campbell. You can make an argument potentially for Foye Oluokun, but I went with Ingram, Etienne, Kirk, and Walker. 168 people have voted on this poll, which is pretty good, seeing as I only put it up about 15 minutes ago. Feel free to go give your thoughts, 1010XL on Twitter or at Ryan Green 1010XL. Right now, the leader at 35.7 is Trayvon Walker. That's surprising to me. Just behind him at 35.1 is Christian Kirk. 20% of the vote goes to Travis Etienne, and only 8.6 of the vote goes to Evan Ingram. Wow, I misread the room. I did not read the Jaguar audience correctly tonight. I am way, way out in left field compared to where most of you guys are. Again, 175 votes, and Evan Ingram is only getting 8% of the vote. Trayvon Walker is a very valuable player, but he's not the most valuable player at his position on the team, right? Josh Allen is clearly the more valuable player, the more important player. Now, Trayvon Walker's in the top 5 or top 6, but good heavens. Christian Kirk, yeah, very valuable. We saw that last year. Kirk would have been my number 2. But come on, Evan Ingram fans, where are you at? Help me out. Help me save face on social media right now. I'm getting just bombarded with ridicule about my take tonight. We'll get more into it coming up on the other side. I'll tell you something we're going to get into more as we move along down the path we call life. You realize 2 months from today, 2 months from today, the kickoff to the college football season. Saturday, August the 24th, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Dublin, Ireland. Let's talk a little college football. Max Chadwick of PFF. You say, Hacker, wait a minute. PFF? That's Pro Football Focus. Yeah, it is. But they do have a college football wing to it. And Max Chadwick, for lack of better terminology, is the college football guy at PFF. Let's talk Florida. Let's talk Florida State, a little Georgia, a little Miami as well. That's next. Halftime, Hacker After Dark. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll take you up till 10 o'clock on a Monday evening in Jacksonville, Florida. You got it right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Because the expressway doesn't mean the fast way.
Fasten your seatbelt.
The Frangie Show.
Don't look like no expressway to me.
Afternoons on 1010XL.
Awaken 180 weight loss. Awaken 180 weight loss. You know, I got on the scale this morning, and I was 74 pounds lighter than I was on February 20th. Guys, 74 pounds in just over 4.5 months. Now, what does that say? Well, it says to me 2 things. A, I had a ton of weight to lose, which is accurate. But B, Awaken 180 is the best weight loss program I've ever been on, and it's not even close. The results speak for themselves. And more importantly, if I can do it, and I've failed miserably in many other weight loss programs because they were all not very good, Awaken 180 is phenomenal. If I can do it, you can do it. If it's time for you to lose weight, take it from somebody who's lost 74 pounds in just over 4 months. Call 844-346-1800. 844-346-1800, or go online, awaken180weightloss.com. They're changing lives. Let them change yours. Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Here's Linda Beaver.
Summer starts now at Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet with our summer sale. It's not sink or swim. We have vehicles for every budget and every need, starting as low as $79.99, and you won't get burnt. We offer 20-year 200,000-mile protection on new and 7-year 100,000-mile protection on used. Plus, we can really cool things off with our 30-day exchange policy. Start the summer off the way you deserve it with our summer sale at Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine or Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville. We're here to wow you.
This is Hayes Carlyon for QC Kinetics. Are you not able to enjoy this summer as much as you want because of joint pain? Well, give my friends at QC Kinetics a call at 904-274-5522 for a free consultation. They're serving the Jacksonville area with locations in Mandarin and Ponte Vedra Beach. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. I'm talking lasting joint pain relief with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. QC Kinetics advanced treatments harness your own body's ability to restore and repair damaged joint tissue so you can walk, run, hike, play golf, move again, pain-free. Their advanced protocols have enabled tens of thousands of patients to reclaim their mobility. Stop putting it off. Take action now and live your best life again. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. 904-274-5522 in Mandarin and Ponte Vedra. That is QC Kinetics.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford. In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, we are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court. The Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think. Or MattDadJacksonville.com.
Here's your 1010XL community calendar of local events and nonprofit groups helping people here at home.
If you'd like to play or sponsor in the ALS Amelia Island Golf Classic, August 9th at Amelia Island Golf Club at Long Point, go to alsgolfamelia.com.
Help make Jacksonville safer and play a round of golf at the First Coast Crime Stoppers Golf Tournament, October 21st at Amelia River Club.
Canines for Warriors provides veterans with lifelong companions in one of their highly trained service dogs. If you know a veteran who could benefit from a companion or simply want to support, visit caninesforwarriors.org.
If your home is missing a little love, the Jacksonville Humane Society has over 100 pets of all ages and breeds looking for a loving home. Find yours at jaxhumane.org.
There is a critical need for all blood types. Please consider donating to a local blood donation center.
You can find out how to share your community event at 1010XL.com. 1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Middle part of June. Boy, there's a ton going on. Obviously, the Trevor Lawrence contract extension is first and foremost. But you look at the calendar, man, media days in the world of college football, not too far away. Of course, Florida State is the first game out of the gate on August the 24th, just about 2.5 months away now against Georgia Tech over there in Dublin, Ireland. Let's talk Trevor Lawrence. Let's talk college football with my buddy Max Chadwick of Pro Football Focus. He's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Max, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Ryan. Thanks for having me on again, man.
Hey, Max, we always appreciate it. Look, I want to talk Florida State, a little Miami, a little Georgia with you as well. You are, for lack of better terminology, the college football guy for PFF. But obviously PFF is pro football focused, so I got to ask you, man, the Trevor Lawrence contract extension, what were your thoughts when you heard about it?
Yeah, obviously now he's right tied with Joe Burrow for the highest paid player in the NFL, making about $55 million a year. I know a lot of people saw that, and, they say it's a little bit of an overpay for Trevor Lawrence. I actually commend the Jaguars for getting this deal done. I think it's a good thing they got this done. They needed to get this deal done. And honestly, it's not going to look like an overpay when other quarterbacks are breaking that record that he has right now. So right now he's the highest paid player in the league, but as more and more quarterbacks get their deals done, like I know Tua Tagovailoa is waiting for a deal. I wonder if he's going to be in that $50 to $55 million range. Dak Prescott is trying to get another deal done as well. There's a lot of quarterbacks that are going to be in that range. So right now he's the highest paid player, and it looks like an overpay. But I don't think it will look like an overpay at all in about 1 or 2 years, honestly. So, I commend the Jaguars for getting it done. And I think he is certainly a top 8 to 10 quarterback in the NFL. And I just don't think the Jacksonville has done a great job of allowing him to really showcase that. But I do think he's worth the massive contract he just got.
We always feel like we have to defend him here in Jacksonville. Why do you think the name Trevor Lawrence, at least nationally, for the most part, kind of has a negative connotation to it with people?
I honestly think it's because of what he was billed coming out of college, right? He was billed as this generational quarterback prospect, likes of which we haven't seen since like Andrew Luck or John Elway or Peyton Manning or something like that. And he's been basically what he's been so far in his career has been like a really good but not, elite quarterback just yet. And I think that's a big reason why he was a generational prospect. Not that I thought he was going to be, an elite quarterback, because I thought there was a chance he could be, but I thought there was such a he's kind of bust proof in a lot of ways. And he's kind of proven to be that, I thought there's no way that this guy would bust, which is why he would be, which is why he was such a great prospect coming out of college. And he hasn't busted, he's still a really good quarterback. So I think Jacksonville has their franchise quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. I have no doubts about that. Like I said, I think he's a top 8 to 10 quarterback in the league with the upside to be even more than that. And I think it's smart of Jacksonville to get this deal done and pay him and make sure that you have him locked up for at least the next 5 years.
Max Chadwick of PFF here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, Max, college football. You, for, again, lack of better terminology, are the college football guy when it comes to pro football focus. So I want to talk about our local teams, and I want to begin with Florida. One of the things you put out there last week was some high praise for the Gator offensive line coming into the year, which kind of caught some people off guard. I've seen some of your colleagues at PFF really high on Graham Mertz's draft stock going into the draft in 2025, which kind of caught me off guard. The thought around here is that Florida, 6-7 wins would be fine, would be a great year with that schedule. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys at PFF, you might like Florida, maybe more than some others. Would that be accurate?
I like the team. Yeah, I think the 6-7 wins, though, is about where I put them, too, though. Because, you mentioned that schedule. It's the hardest schedule in the country, right? And I think Florida, honestly, is probably a top 30, top 35 team in the country, but they're going to go 6-6 or maybe even a little bit worse just because of how brutal that schedule is. So, I'm expecting like a 6-6 season from Florida this year. I think that should be the benchmark for them. I think doing that would be a good enough job by them. Going above that, going 7-5 or better should be seen as a success, and going 5-7 or worse should be seen as a failure, honestly. So I expect Florida to be right on the edge of making a bowl game this year. I do like a lot of what they have, but like you said, with that schedule, man, it's really hard for me to project anything more than 6-6 for them right now. But they do have players I like. I do like Graham Mertz. I don't like him as much as Trevor Sikkema does, who has him as one of his top 5 quarterbacks in the draft next year. But I do like him, and I like obviously I like DJ Lagway as his backup, and I like the offensive line, like you said, is a top 10 unit in the country, in my opinion, as well. I like some of their players. I think they are an intriguing team next year, but with that schedule, I just don't really see them being a 7-5 or 8-4 team or something like that.
Max, I would agree with you. And my thing about it, people are going to talk about Billy Napier if they go, 6-6 or whatever. My thought on Billy is this. In the world of college football, you need 2 things as a fan base. You need wins on the field or you need hope. And if they don't get wins on the field, well, they better have hope for the future. And I think they're going to have that. I think this is Billy's best roster. On paper, to me, it's the best roster. I just don't know if that's going to translate because of that schedule.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think they have a lot of guys that I was really high on. Guys like Eugene Wilson at wide receiver was really, really intriguing last year. I think he's a really good player. Cormani McLean transferring in from Colorado. He was a former 5-star recruit, number 1 corner coming out of high school a couple years ago, too. Jason Marshall is still there at corner. Like I said, the offensive line is really good. Jake Slaughter, their center, I think is going to have a huge breakout year for Florida this upcoming season. So, yeah, I like Florida, man. I think they have a lot of intriguing stuff. And you mentioned, having hope. I mean, it's easy to have hope for that program when the number 1 quarterback coming out of high school is in that as a backup right now, and the number 3 overall recruit in DJ Lagway. So he's a very talented quarterback, and I think Florida fans are very hopeful for what he can do with that program once Graham Mertz is done after the season.
Max Chadwick of PFF here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Max, to Tallahassee we go. A great year for Florida State last year. They got absolutely robbed not getting into the 14 playoff. I don't care at all about the bowl game. That was the JV unit for Florida State, so that game is irrelevant to me anyway. But they got to replace a lot of guys, man. There's a lot of guys that played in Tallahassee last year that are going to be playing in the National Football League on Sundays this year. Your thoughts about Mike Norvell, the Noles, and how they've replaced that amount of talent? Have they done an adequate job?
Yeah, I think they've done as good of a job as they could have hoped for. I don't think they, killed the transfer portal as well as they've done in the past. Finding guys like Jordan Travis and Trey Benson and Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman and Jared Verse and, can go on and on, honestly, with how many amazing transfers Mike Norvell's brought in. I don't really see a guy this year that they brought in that I'm like, oh, that's like a home run for them. Obviously, the big get was DJ Uiagalelei as their starting quarterback, but yeah, last year going into the year, I had Florida State as a top 5 team, and they ultimately proved that right, going 13-0. And I agree with you; they were snubbed from the playoff. I don't expect them to be a top 5 or anything close to that this year. I think they're more of like a top 20 team in college football, and I think you're probably seeing more of like an 8-4 type of season from Florida State, which is to be expected, right? After they lost so much talent to the NFL draft, I think going 8-4 is probably a good middle ground for them as they try to move on to the next era of Florida State football.
Not to put words in your mouth, but if you see them as an 8-4 football team, would that mean you think Clemson's the favorite in the ACC?
I think they're certainly up there. I think Clemson's got a really good defense, one of the best in the country, honestly. The offense is definitely where the big question marks lie, and especially in their passing game with Cade Klubnik and the receiving core. I think it might be Miami. That might be my pick to win the ACC right now. They have a loaded roster. It's just whether or not Mario Cristobal can be the head coach of a team that goes to the college football playoff. That's really the big question for me right now. But Miami's roster top to bottom is pretty unbelievable. So I think Miami might be my pick right now out of the ACC.
Interesting. And I was going to go to Miami next. The perfect lead-in. I mean, we know how big August 31st is for Billy Napier, that opener against the Hurricanes in the Swamp. That's a gigantic game for Mario Cristobal too, Max. I mean, correct? If Miami for some reason loses that game, well, that fan base is not going to be happy about that.
No, they definitely won't be. And that's a huge game for both Cristobal and Napier, who are both kind of on the hot seat, right, going into the season. So that's a huge game for both of those guys. But yeah, you mentioned, Miami they did an excellent job in the transfer portal this offseason. I think Cam Ward is a really, really high ceiling quarterback. Now, there is kind of a low floor there. He kind of is a little bit of a roller coaster right now. But if he can kind of play a little bit safer, Miami can have a really, really one of the best offenses in the country, because I think they have a great running game with Damian Martinez transferring in from Oregon State. I think he's a top 10 running back in the country. Miami has an excellent receiving core, too, led by a top 5 receiver in the country in Xavier Estrepo. They have a top 10 offensive line in the country as well. They have a top 10 my number 3 defensive line in the country with the best edge room, I think, in college football this upcoming season. I like their linebacker unit. I think their secondary needs a little bit of work, but really Miami top to bottom, it's hard to find too many holes on that roster. It's just about, putting it all together for Mario Cristobal, but they're probably the most talented team, I think, in the ACC next year.
Final moments, Max Chadwick of PFF. Max, as we wrap up, let's go to Georgia. The preseason magazines love the Dogs. Las Vegas loves the Dogs. Does Max Chadwick love the Georgia Bulldogs this year.
Yeah, I do. I think they're definitely a top 2 or 3 team in college football. I don't know if they're the number 1 team for me entering the year. They're probably number 2 behind Ohio State, but they have the best quarterback in America and Carson Beck. They're still going to have a great run game, obviously led by Trevor Etienne, who transfers in there from Florida. They have at least a top 2 offensive line in the country as well. They still have a really good receiving core after losing Brock Bowers. Obviously, the defense will always be elite under Kirby Smart with a really, really good defensive line, a really good linebacker unit, and a really good secondary. Yeah, I think Georgia, just top to bottom, is one of the most loaded teams in college football, and certainly, one of the top 2 probably favorites to win it all next year.
The absolute craziness of this college football season with the 12-team playoff, obviously all the realignment that takes effect. Let's focus on the SEC in our final moments. Based on everything I've seen, people I've talked to around the SEC, Max, Georgia is the thought number 1. Texas, one of the newcomers, is the thought probably at number 2. And then Alabama, and work your way down from there. Ole Miss is maybe the wild card in that. Is that the way you see it at the top of the SEC coming into 2024?
Yeah, how I would tier it out, I would probably say tier 1 is Georgia by itself. I think they're the best team by a good bit probably in the SEC. Then tier 2, I would put Texas, Ole Miss, and Alabama as the next tier of teams. And then tier 3, I start off with like Missouri, who is probably a top 10 team in the country. Oklahoma is probably somewhere in that tier. Tennessee is probably somewhere close to that tier. LSU as well. That's probably how I would tier it. But yeah, I do think Georgia is probably in a class of its own right now in that conference.
Max Chadwick of PFF. Max, final question. The 12-team playoff. A lot of talk about, can you lose 3 games? Dare I say, can you lose 4 games and get in? I think it's going to be fascinating in year 1 to see how it all plays out. My guess is 9-3 is the floor. Anything less than 9-3 will not get you in. I'm not sure if 9-3 gets you in, but I'm pretty sure it would get you in a 12-team playoff. What's your thought there?
Yeah, so if you look at what last year's ranking was at the end of the season, every 10-2 Power 5 team would have gotten in besides Oklahoma. So 10-2 was kind of the benchmark for a 12-team college football playoff. Now, it is interesting because I think you mentioned 9-3. A 9-3 Big Ten team or 9-3 SEC team versus a 10-2 Big 12 or ACC team, that's going to be a really interesting conversation to have. So maybe at 9-3, I don't think you can go 9-3 in the Big 12 or ACC and get in. I think you have to at least win 10 games in order to get in. But I do think a potentially 9-3 SEC or Big Ten team, maybe they would get the nod because of how much better those conferences are than the ACC and Big 12. But just going off of last year, you have to go 10-2 or better, just going off of last year. But this year is going to be interesting with all the new conference realignment, how they treat the Big Ten and SEC compared to the ACC and Big 12.
It's going to be absolutely wild. Not only the 12-team playoff, but really the longest season we've ever seen in college football. It starts Saturday, August the 24th. They don't crown a national champion until January the 20th. So you're talking 5 months of college football, and that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Max Chadwick. Max, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about the college football coverage you guys have on PFF and where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find it all at pff.com. Me and my co-host, Owen Watson, are actually doing a massive college football preview magazine that's hopefully going to drop pretty soon this summer. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And also I host along with Dalton, I host the PFF College Football Show, which you can find on YouTube and anywhere you get a podcast as well.
Max, always enjoy the conversation. I know you're busy. Thank you as always. We'll do it again right before the season kicks off.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate you.
Choose your social channel. Twitter at 1010XL. Facebook at 1010XL. Instagram at 1010XL. TikTok at 1010XL. YouTube at 1010XL. 1010XL is there.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Our returning champion, a basketball court sweat mopper from Jacksonville, Florida, meet Louis Cramp.
Great to be back, Merv.
There's only one category left on the board, Louis. People you can trust to repair your air conditioner. Your 10 seconds starts now.
Well, I'm pretty handy with tools around. Right, so my Uncle Steve used to fix transmissions, so maybe he could... Okay, sorry. I guess just call the guys at Bueller?
That's
That's right, Lewis. The highly trained technicians at Bueller Air and Plumbing have the tools and the experience to service any make and model of home air conditioner to make sure that you are cool.
You sure I can't just have a quick...
Yeah, we're done for today.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
When you're rolling Charmin Ultra Soft on the potty, less is more, so roll it back, everybody. Charmin's irresistibly soft and hella nice. The grip is always soft. It's our party vibe. So our cheeks feel fly. So everybody wanna touch the sky.
Charmin Ultra Soft is irresistibly soft and more absorbent, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Prosser here. As you may or may not know by now, I did the research and decided to go with Jack's Concrete Coatings for my garage floor. OMG, as the kids would say. I can't begin to tell you how good it looks, how happy we are. We brag on it anytime someone walks in the garage. They had the job finished in one day with a lifetime warranty. That's right. As the certified Pintech dealer for North Florida, the only company offering pure polyurea, I can't wait to do my patio deck next. Call 862-2000. That's the number, 862-2000, or jacksconcretecoatings.com.
Hey there, all you fun-loving sports maniacs, a.k.a. taco lovers. Don here from Taco Lou. I'm quite proud to say that we have the best staff in all of Duval.
Don't you mean Louval?
Say hello to Lizzie.
Hello, Jacksonville.
I suppose I do mean Louval. Say, Liz, what's your favorite cocktail to make?
The Double Barrel Margarita. It's Herradura, Tequila Reposado, Orange Liqueur, Orange Juice, and our homemade sour mix. We call it Lou Brew. Give it a good shake and serve.
Well, thanks, Lizzie.
Come in and hang with me at the bar. Taco Lou in Jacksonville Beach.
Mia O'Brien.
Fun-loving girl.
On Helmets and Heels from noon to 2.
Likes to laugh. Lives to love. No dull moments tolerated.
Mia's quick hits are driven by Arlington Toyota on the video and social channels of 1010XL.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. Call 904-722-1111.
Instant Keys saves the day if you've lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call Instant Keys, 722-1111.
This is Keith Catlin for Catlin Truck Accessories, and we are so blessed to be in business for over 100 years. Over 100 years of the best product and customer service means you can count on Catlin. From Roll and Lock bed covers to Lear toppers to cam locker toolboxes, Catlin Truck Accessories has you covered when it comes to your truck or van. We do those too. Got a fleet of vehicles? We can outfit them all.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
One name, one location, 100 years. You can count on Catlin.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
All right, a couple of championships will be decided. Tennessee still up 3-1 on Texas A&M, top of the 7th. Winner-take-all game at the College World Series. Likewise, Stanley Cup Final Game 7, 16:30 to go in the second period. Game tied 1-1, Edmonton and Florida. Edmonton is on the power play. Of course, the winner tonight will be skating around with the Stanley Cup at night's end. Crazy to think that the NBA draft is on Wednesday. It's a 2-day event this year, Wednesday and Thursday. That's the Bronny James effect. It's Wednesday night and Thursday afternoon. And free agency, you can begin negotiating with free agents on Sunday. With that, Trevor Lane does a fantastic job covering the NBA for the Front Office Show on YouTube. He's also a big part of the Lakers work at Lakers Nation on YouTube. I want to talk Bronny James, but I want to talk Orlando Magic. I want to talk Paul George, Klay Thompson, and free agency. We'll do that with one of my favorites, Trevor Lane, covering the NBA. That's next. Monday night, Hacker After Dark. We're glad you're with us. 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
1010XL, proud to live in Duval.
Duval. Duval.
Duval.
Duval.
Craving a cold one? Well, zip into one of the great Gate locations you see all over town and pick up a cold Bud Light, or a Natty, or an Ultra. Maybe a 12-pack of the King of Beers, or some cold Coronas. It's all happening at your local Gate convenience store. Slide on in today.
Matt, eating well can actually taste amazing with Awaken 180.
Exactly what Mike and I have been telling you, Hacker. It's all about discovering flavors that are as good for you as they taste.
I'm now down 70 pounds, and it's only been 3 months. No gym, no meds, just great food and fantastic coaching from Awaken 180.
Woo, baby. I told you so. Awaken 180 has changed the weight loss game. I saw Mike Dempsey drop his 25 pounds in a month, so I wanted in. You listeners know my results, but what we haven't shared is a ton of friends and family and listeners have jumped on board too. Their results? 100% success across the board.
Crazy to think there is a program that can work for everyone. But losing 70 pounds in 3 months proves that crazy is not so crazy. If you're listening and ready for fast results, expert coaching, and delicious food, Awaken 180 is the way to go. Head to awaken180weightloss.com and watch the weight melt off, starting with your very first week.
Men, if you're suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, Prime Men's Medical Center will get your sex life back in just one visit. Their painless, breakthrough medical treatments eliminate ED and PE. Here's a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Simovitz. Have Viagra or Cialis let you down? Prime Men's Medical Center offers the most effective treatments that eliminate ED and PE, with men lasting longer than ever. 98% of patients see instant results on their first visit.
Prime Men's Medical Center's breakthrough treatments will restore your sex life regardless of age or medical history. Your consultation and first treatment are free. Plus, you'll see instant results in the office. Plus, qualified patients will have their testosterone checked free. Call 904-902-8222. 904-902-8222. To regain your sex life in just one visit, call now. 904-902-8222.
Hi, this is Dave Barker. Multi-unit hair grafting is now available at IHRS and can give you 3 times more hair in one procedure over a traditional hair transplant.
Multi-unit hair grafting gave me more hair in one procedure and within my budget.
You can grow your hair back with this exclusive new procedure. Call for a free evaluation. Call IHRS 904-777-IHRS 777-IHRS 777-4477.
Have you or someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI and all criminal offenses. I've been named the best DUI attorney in the state, and David has been named the best criminal defense lawyer in Jacksonville. In your battle with the justice system, there is only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645.
He used to cover the Jags. Now he's a CBS Sports senior NFL writer.
Well, I believe he's got everybody's attention.
He's Pete Prisco. Friday afternoons on The Frangie Show. Brought to you by Showtime Sports Cards and Collectibles on 1010XL.
Are your kids ready to play this summer? Come check out the Y. Summer is a time for kids to explore new things and expand the limits of their imagination. At the Y Summer Camp, every day is a new adventure. Kids can learn about STEM, arts and humanities, athletic sports, outdoor games, and more. Registration is now open, but space is limited, and spots are filling up quickly. Learn more and find your adventure at fcymca.org. Search Summer Day Camp.
Clearwater. John, I can't even mow my side yard. It's so soggy. Man, my builder sucks.
Brent, calm down. This is a common problem in neighborhoods where houses are built too close together. You need gutters and a properly installed French drain that will soak up subsurface water. We can completely dry it up.
So I can take my builder off my speed dial now, huh?
Yeah, we got you, buddy. Let that builder bitterness go.
Clearwater irrigation and drainage too.
Hey, David here with Royal Pest Services. Men, are you struggling in the bedroom? Do spiders and roaches have you scared? Visit RoyalPestServices.com and let us help you get that man card back. Guaranteed results on our first visit.
Looking for a new or used firearm? Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach will get you locked and loaded. New firearms coming in weekly and always looking for used guns. No lines and no waiting. online at beachesjewelryandpawn.com.
It's the coolest week to save during the summer fan sale at First Coast Lighting and Fans. Buy one fan, save 10%. Buy two, save 15%. Buy three or more and save 20% off all fans at First Coast Lighting and Fans. Showroom near the Avenues.
If your ride is making strange noises, don't wait and make it worse. Come to Action Transmission on Merrill Road. My expert technicians can diagnose the problem and likely fix it fast. Experience the difference at Action Transmission on Merrill Road.
Hidden Hills Golf Club invites you to bring your friends out and enjoy our spectacular golf course, which is carved out of some of the highest elevations in North Florida. Hidden Hills Golf Club, unlike any other. Check us out, hiddenhillsgc.com.
Hey folks, this is Dave Benyon with my son Ammon here from Zero Res. Ammon, you've been cleaning air ducts for a while now. What are some of the reasons customers might consider getting their air ducts cleaned?
There are many reasons. Many times, people suffer needlessly from poor indoor air quality produced by the conditions in their air system. Construction dust, the presence of bacterial growth, and years' worth of buildup all come together to make your air ducts a pretty gross place. If you suffer from allergies, have recently moved, recently remodeled, or have never had your air ducts cleaned, then now is the best time to call. By calling Zero Res, you'll have the peace of mind of knowing that you called the best of the best. Our state-of-the-art truck mount system and top-of-the-line service representatives simply can't be found anywhere else. Google Zero Res and read thousands of 5-star reviews.
So what kind of deals can I expect?
Just mention that you heard us on the radio, and we'll give you $100 off your air duct cleaning.
Wow, that sounds like a pretty great deal. Remember, folks, Zero Res,
spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
ZEROREZ. Zero Res.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. Boy, the NBA offseason comes at you quick, right? The finals just ended a little over a week ago. We all of a sudden now have the NBA draft this week. Free agency begins with negotiations at the end of the week, and you can sign with teams effective next week. There is a lot to get into with that. Trevor Lane does a terrific job covering the NBA for the front office show. He's also a big part of Lakers Nation, and he's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Trevor, how you doing?
Doing well. Thank you for having me on the show.
Hey, Trevor, we always appreciate it, man. All right, the finals end. You take a deep breath, I guess. The confetti hasn't really even stopped in Boston, and bam, here we are into the offseason. We saw a big trade last week, Chicago and Oklahoma City. Caruso for Josh Giddey. Malik Monk has already re-signed in Sacramento. As an Orlando fan, that one hurt me a little bit. It's crazy, Trevor, the NBA calendar and how quickly things pick up after the finals.
Yeah, absolutely. No rest for the weary here. The NBA schedule, it just keeps on going. This is actually arguably the busiest time of year in the NBA, and we don't have games going on right now between the draft coming up. We've got free agency, the trade market, everything else that's happening. Summer League in just a few weeks. This is a crazy time of year, and technically the season just ended. But the NBA news cycle, it is nonstop, 365 days a year. This is a really, really exciting time. Probably my favorite time on the NBA calendar.
I want to get to free agency in a moment. Certainly want to talk about the Orlando Magic with you. But before we do that, obviously the NBA draft comes up middle of this week, a 2-day event, the Bronny James effect, if you will. And the work you do, the terrific work you do for Lakers Nation out there, I mean, I think, the lottery is normally the big story. This year it's not. It's Bronny James and that second-round pick of the Los Angeles Lakers. Is that a foregone conclusion? The Lakers are going to take him on Thursday afternoon?
If he's there at 55, where the Lakers pick in the second round, and they don't take him, I would be absolutely floored. I can't imagine that coming to pass. He was pretty good in his in the NBA draft combine performances that we saw from him. So it's possible that another team could take him in the second round, but there's been a big push from Clutch Sports to make it clear to everybody out there that if a team is drafting Bronny, that does not increase their chances of landing LeBron. They don't want anybody drafting Bronny just hoping to lure LeBron James to their city. Instead, they want a team to draft Bronny solely because they want to develop him for the future and they believe in his talent. So there's been a big push to try to make sure that you don't get a team trying to draft Bronny just to get LeBron in the door. And he's only worked out for a couple of teams. He's worked out for the Suns. He's worked out for the Lakers. There's a possibility that he'll do a few other workouts, but it does seem like they're trying to funnel him towards the Lakers with that 55th pick. And if he's there, I think the Lakers are taking him 100%.
2 years ago, Paolo Banchero, Chet Holmgren, Jabari Smith. Last year, obviously, Wemby. I mean, it was huge deals at the top of the draft. I got to tell you, Trevor, and you obviously follow it much closer than I do because of your work with the front office show and your work with Lakers Nation. I mean, the NBA draft is Wednesday night, and there's just not a lot of buzz at the top. Is that because some international players are expected to go very high?
Well, it's this draft class. This is what we've been hearing about this class for a while. It's that there's not that superstar at the top here. Next year it'll be Cooper Flagg. This year, there's no Victor Wembanyama. There's no Zion Williamson in this class that's getting all the buzz. Instead, you've got a fairly flat draft where you've got a lot of players who I think can be contributors to teams, but you're not getting a breakout star. You're not going to get a superstar that you're going to build your team around for the future in this year's draft class. So that's part of it. You don't have that kind of clear-cut star to step into that spotlight in this year's draft class, and so that's going to take away some of the attention overall from the draft. But I do like this draft in terms of adding rotation players. You can get guys who can help teams win. You can find that in this draft. You're just not getting a star to build your franchise around.
Trevor Lane, the front office show and Lakers Nation, covering the NBA with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, Malik Monk is already off the board. Again, that one hurt as an Orlando Magic fan. Your reaction first and foremost, Trevor, to Monk not even testing free agency and going to re-sign with Sacramento.
I think it may be a sign of the market. We've got the new collective bargaining agreement kicking in this year in full in terms of the most punitive measures. And we look at the two new tax tiers, Tier 1 and Tier 2 aprons, and the punishments that come with those are going to be a strong deterrent against teams building out salaries that go past that $189 million mark. So I think we're going to see a lot more short-term contracts in this year's free agency. And so if you're Malik Monk and there's a 4-year offer on the table, especially at $78 million, can understand why he might just say, you know what, 4 years, I'm going to take that because I don't know if I'm going to get that out there on the market. But he would have been a great fit in Orlando. He was my favorite guy for the Magic to land. I thought he would have been a phenomenal fit with this team. He would have given them the three-point shooting they could use, that scoring, everything he can do would have made him a perfect fit in Orlando. So it was absolutely a blow to the Magic for Malik Monk to stay in Sacramento, but I understand why he did, and I do wonder if it's a sign of things to come here with this market, if we're going to see more short-term contracts over the next couple of weeks.
Speaking of Orlando, let's get into them. Klay Thompson is a name that's been linked to them for quite some time. People are experts on social media, follows and unfollows when it comes to Klay Thompson. I mean, what ultimately do you think happens with Klay here in the next 10 days?
I think some of it is tied to Chris Paul and what happens with him with Golden State. Do they ultimately guarantee some of his contract, that $30 million contract, and use him in a trade and bring back salary? And if they don't, do they just waive Chris Paul, which I would think they would do? I don't think anybody wants to pay Chris Paul $30 million in next season. So if they waive Chris Paul and they free up a little bit more flexibility, maybe Golden State does come to terms with Klay. I think Klay would like to stay in Golden State and finish his career there. The question is the number. And if the Warriors aren't willing to meet that number, or as they are trying to clear salary cap space right now, if they're not willing to go there, then maybe that opens up an opportunity for Orlando to swoop in and grab him. And I think he would be a nice fit. I like Klay. He's not the defender that he once was, but he can certainly give you some shooting. If you're in Orlando and you can offer a big money deal for a couple of seasons to mitigate some of the long-term risk for a guy that's well into his 30s at this point, you could do far worse than adding Klay Thompson in this year's free agent class.
Couple of more for Trevor Lane, the NBA front office show. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Another name we've heard, Trevor, and you obviously are very familiar with this guy because of your work with Lakers Nation, is D'Angelo Russell. What's the market going to be like for Russell, and could Orlando be in play there?
So from what we've heard, Orlando would be the most likely non-Lakers landing spot for D'Angelo Russell. What we've heard, though, is that Orlando wouldn't approach that $18.7 million player option that he's got. They'd be offering him less money than that. Obviously, it'd be a multiple-year deal. So 1 year, $18.7 million deal is what he can pick up. He has a player option with the Lakers for that number, or potentially he could get something for a lower salary but more years from the Orlando Magic. I do think his fit there is an interesting one next to a guy like Jalen Suggs who can fly around all over the court and do some incredible things defensively. Does that mitigate some of the defensive concerns that you see with D'Angelo Russell? He shot the ball extremely well last year for the Lakers. He is not known as a playoff performer, though. And as this Orlando Magic team wants to push farther and farther into the postseason, is that a concern for them, knowing that he's got a long history of struggling come playoff time? So I think that he brings you the three-point shooting that you're looking for. He gives you some ball handling, gives you a little bit of shot creation as well on the offensive end, especially in the regular season. But I do wonder if the playoff struggles of D'Angelo Russell will ultimately give Orlando reason to hold off on giving him that big offer that he's looking for. But again, the skill set would be a really nice fit. Just there's the question of, can you count on him in the playoffs?
NBA teams can begin negotiating with free agents coming up at the end of the week. Trevor, Orlando's got a ton of money. They're going to spend it on somebody, you would think, or are they not going to spend it as most of us believe? What's your thought on Orlando in totality this offseason?
Well, there's a lot of things you can do with cap space beyond just going after a free agent. You can also acquire a player via trade, and now we're starting to hear rumors about the Clippers and maybe executing a trade with Paul George, an opt-in and trade. Is that something that Orlando could get involved in? They could also try to sign him outright. I do think they're going to spend here. I think they're going to use their cap space wisely. I think there's enough players out there on the market that they can find a piece or two to add to this roster. You could also look to, you've got guys like Mo Wagner, you've got Joe Ingles. Could you bring these guys back on reasonable deals? They've got team options on their deals right now. So I think they're going to use most of the room that they've got. They do have to reach that salary floor anyway. So they're going to use up that space. But the question is, do they land the big fish? Do they get a Klay Thompson? Do they get a Paul George? Is it even a D'Angelo Russell, someone like that, and add that person to this roster? Or are they more trying to help facilitate a trade? Do you absorb some salary, get some future capital, and then maybe you can use that down the line? I think this team is ready to make the next step. So if I'm Orlando, I'm doing everything I can to add a win-now piece. I don't want to be a dumping ground for unwanted salaries, but that is an option because they have so much space. They could grab some future assets, preserve some capital, and then potentially make a move by the trade deadline and see how the market shifts by then. But I think they're going to do everything they can to get a Klay Thompson, get somebody big in here to really push this team to the next level.
Not necessarily Malik Monk, but guys like Buddy Hield, maybe a Gary Trent Jr., those are names we're hearing as well. What's your thought there?
Yeah, I mean, those are guys that have some defensive deficiencies. Buddy Hield, his counting stats still look fine with Philadelphia, but he struggled there a little bit more than I would have expected. So those are guys that you could get potentially relatively cheap. Buddy Hield being, I think, will be the more cost-effective guy, but Gary Trent Jr. is another guy that you can get probably without having to break the bank, but they're not going to have the impact of say the top tier guys that are out there, but they would provide that shooting that Orlando's looking for. So you can at least check that box and add them without having to necessarily sacrifice too much long-term flexibility if you're not able to get in on one of these top tier guys.
Trevor, the three teams we're hearing with Paul George, you mentioned him earlier. We're hearing the Clippers, obviously, the Magic, and of course the Philadelphia 76ers. How would you assess those three, in your opinion, as far as landing spots for Paul George?
If I'm Paul George, I think the Philadelphia 76ers make a lot of sense. Not only are you getting to play with Joel Embiid and you're getting to play with Tyrese Maxey, but you're getting out of the Western Conference. You look at how deep the conference is right now. It's an absolutely brutal grind to make it out of the West with so much parity across the board. There's going to be playoff caliber teams that don't even make the play-in the Western Conference this next season. So there are some benefits to that. I think he would prefer to stay in LA. He's from the area. He's got family in the area. I think ultimately he wants to stay with the Clippers. But if they're not willing to go where he wants to go contract-wise, and again, this is the new CBA coming into effect. A guy like Steve Ballmer, the dollar amount is never going to be a concern. But now the NBA has made it more difficult to build out your roster if you are spending to a certain level. And so if that is enough to deter the Clippers from giving Paul George the contract that he wants, I think Philadelphia will be willing to give that to him. And if they're not, if there's some concern from Paul George on that front, then I think Orlando becomes a great landing spot for him as well, where he can look at this team that is clearly ready to take the next step, and he can be the guy to come in and help push them to that next level. He'd be a fantastic fit in Orlando. I just think playing with a couple of veterans like Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, what he's shown on his end, I think that's probably going to be the most attractive option for him should he leave the Clippers. But Orlando's got to be right there in the mix as well, particularly if James Harden is in Paul George's ear telling him not to trust Daryl Morey. And maybe we do see Paul George turn his attention towards the Magic.
Final moments with Trevor Lane of the Front Office Show and Lakers Nation. All right, Trevor, as we begin to wrap up, we already saw Caruso for Giddey last week, the Bulls and the Thunder pulling off that deal. There are a lot of names out there in the trade market. You hear Trae Young, also Murray in Atlanta. You've heard Darius Garland, potentially Donovan Mitchell in Cleveland. How active will the trade market be in the coming days and weeks? And give me a couple of big names that you think realistically may be on the move.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very active. And I think what you're going to see is instead of typical buyer-seller type trades where one team is getting draft capital, the other team is getting win-now players, I think there's a lot of teams on this market that are buyers, and they're not a lot of sellers. So I think what we're going to see is rebalancing type trades. If you want to look at a hypothetical, saying I'm just pulling this out of thin air, like a Brandon Ingram for Darius Garland type trade between the Pelicans and the Cavs, something where both teams are getting something that they want to add to their roster, something that they were missing. Neither team is necessarily giving up too much in terms of future draft capital. Of course, there'll be some picks added in, but I think we're going to see some rebalancing type trades this year. I do think it's going to be active because there's a lot of teams, as parity increases in Adam Silver's NBA, there's a lot of teams that feel like they're not that far off. So they're going to be incentivized to go make moves and do what they can to try to improve their teams. I think an interesting name to watch is Walker Kessler with the Utah Jazz. Really talented young shot blocker. I'm a little bit surprised that he's on the market, but Utah is willing to make some moves here. He's one certainly to keep an eye on. I also like, of course, Darius Garland to hit the market. He's an interesting one. I mentioned Brandon Ingram already. I also am keeping an eye on Donovan Mitchell with the Knicks, and could they move on from him as they prepare a big offer for Isaiah Hartenstein? There's a number of guys who could be on the move. Some really, really interesting names. Of course, the biggest name to potentially get traded would probably be Paul George. I think most of the other big names wind up staying put. I do think Donovan Mitchell winds up staying with the Cavs and signs a new deal there. So Paul George could wind up being the big name on the trade market, but the rest of these guys, I think there's going to be some impact pieces that are shipped out this year over the next few weeks, and that's going to make it a really, really exciting and fun period over the next, well, let's say month or so here in the NBA.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It is a good time of year in the NBA, absolutely. Trevor, give us the information on the Front Office Show. We have your partner, Keith Smith, on a bunch as well. I told you this beforehand, man. You guys do a terrific job with that broadcast. You're also a big part of Lakers Nation. Where can people find your NBA coverage?
Well, thank you. Yeah, you can find us on the NBA Front Office Show, which is over on YouTube. It's also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. We're going to have some live draft coverage. We'll be live there breaking down all the draft picks as the draft occurs. We also have a fresh show out Monday through Friday. Every day we do a full-length podcast breaking down all the latest news around the NBA. So you guys can find that there. And then if you happen to be interested in the Lakers, I do a lot of work over on the Lakers Nation YouTube channel, youtube.com/Lakers Nation, as well as the podcast side with the Lakers Nation podcast. So that's where people can find me on social media. I'm on X at Trevor_Lane.
Trevor Lane. Trevor, once the dust settles from free agency and the draft, we'll hopefully get you back on and see what Orlando was able to accomplish. Thank you as always, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Happy to do it. Appreciate you having me on.
Now, the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
And thank you to Trevor Lane, host of the Front Office Show that you can catch on YouTube and Lakers Nation, also on YouTube. Trevor does a great job covering the NBA. It's hard to believe, man. We got the NBA draft Wednesday and Thursday. Free agency officially can begin negotiations at the end of the week. Right into Summer League, the Olympics. I mean, basketball is going to be at the forefront of a lot of minds, even though the NBA doesn't start back up until mid-October. Well, that'll just about do it. It's been a very busy Monday night edition here at Hacker After Dark, and we talked about a lot tonight. Obviously, we talked about NBA. We did some college football as well. But back in hour number one, look, by process of elimination, right, you look at the positions on this Jaguar football team. PFF does not like the wide receivers. They ranked them 25th, which I thought was really low. I know no one's going to like the offensive line. You know, the defense isn't going to be very high because of all the newness over there. Travis Etienne, probably a borderline top 10 running back in the league. Trevor Lawrence probably is going to be anywhere from 10 to 15 as far as quarterback rankings. But the one guy that you can say is a top 5 player at his position right now, or we have a top 5 position here in Jacksonville, is tight end. To me, there's no question about that. How many tight ends in this league right now would you take over Evan Ingram? You'd take Travis Kelce, right? You'd probably take George Kittle. After that, I think you're going to start thinking about it a little bit. It just goes to show you kind of where Evan Ingram is on the hierarchy of tight ends. So as much as people nationally aren't going to like certain position groups here in Jacksonville, the Jaguars have a top 5 tight end group because they have a top 5 tight end in tight end Evan Ingram. Well, we got a lot of people to thank for tonight's broadcast. Again, talking NBA with Trevor Lane. Always enjoy that conversation. Thank you to Max Chadwick of Pro Football Focus for joining us tonight. Now, Max is the college football guy at PFF. Obviously, we think of PFF as Pro Football Focus, but they have a college section as well. Max is a big, big part of that. We talked Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Miami, and more. So really enjoyed that conversation. And back in hour number 1, former Jacksonville Jaguar and NFL defensive lineman Lige Douzable joined us. Always enjoy talking ball with Lige. We're now inside of a month away from the Jaguars reporting to training camp. And Lige, like me, probably higher on his thoughts on Jaguar general manager Trent Baalke than a lot of people are. So we thank Lige Douzable, former Jaguar D lineman, for taking time out for us this evening. We will be back tomorrow night on a Tuesday, and we will do it all over again beginning at 8 o'clock. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, I'm sure it was as emotional for you as it was for me. Haven't seen you in like 12 days, man. It's a long time, but welcome back, as we certainly appreciate Dylan and all his hard work tonight. I'm the hacker, Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Monday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark, on 1010XL, and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Monday evening, and we will do it all over again tomorrow night on a Tuesday beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then,